So it's Therese here from Richmond Valley Council in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales. And I'm actually wondering whether perhaps feminism has got ahead of society. Like, for instance, I've got three daughters in capital cities forging their careers. They're in their 30s, one has a baby, and they have to work such long hours and climb that ladder and play the game. I just wonder how on earth they're going to be able to fit in, children and motherhood. And I don't know what the answer is. Are we expecting too much of women? Or is it society that hasn't caught up with things like good pay, parental leave and family-friendly workplaces? Thanks.
Therese, I cannot tell you how much time I think about this. One of the joys of my life is a Monday lunch that I have had for the last 27 years with a friend I met at playgroup for my first child. She's a doctor, she's a specialist, and we really liked each other, and we started going to coffee after playgroup, and we just have kept up this lunch for 27 years. If it's not a Monday, it's a Thursday, and it's just been a highlight of my life. I feel very, very blessed. And we talk about this all the time because our children, our babies are now in 27 or 26 years. We've kept it up. But look, my answer to this is by way of soothing our fears, which I totally agree with you in terms of wondering how's 3 into 2 going to go, is to say we're living through a revolution, I think, as big as the Industrial Revolution, called the ICT revolution, the information revolution. We're actually living through exceptionally turbulent times, and this will pass. Maybe not in our lifetime, but just like it was for people moving from, the agrarian times of England and old Europe into the industrial times, and that was, let's face it, that took a good 100 years to play out. I think we're going through amazing times where we've got all of this amazing input, stimulation, information. It's far too much. We have to learn the skills of breaking it down into tolerable, edible bits. And in fact, I think that the new elites will be those who can work out how to do this, how to take the best and leave the rest, that great phrase. And you can already see it happening. People who develop techniques for it could be as basic as saying, I take no emails on Sunday. It's my Sabbath. There's a return. People sort of saying, that old notion of abiding by the Sabbath, even if they're not religious, coming back in another form. Or people who turned off their Facebook. I never turned mine on, actually, but quite a few young people, very interesting. Or people who only take phone calls for certain windows of the day, etc., etc. I think that your daughters, just like my daughters, will just develop the power to say, no, I'll take on those high jobs for 2 years and I'll be disciplined. I won't say that is my life, or I'll take on that consultancy job. I know a young woman who's just left a very high-paying thing with McKinsey's because she's worked out she just desperately wants children and a partner. And she's been sent all around the world. She can't court anyone, if you know what I mean, let alone meet them. So I just think we've got to say, you only have one life. Don't pass up these big opportunities, but put boundaries around them.
Thank you, Geraldine. Warren Bungle has a comment here. Success for women is having the choice to work, the choice to stay at home, and then the ultimate success to be happy and not guilty.
I saw that. I was going to thank you for reminding me, and yes. This is my point about joy and that sense of enjoyment. And look, I think it comes from decision making as opposed to not decision making. In other words, I said it to my son yesterday, who was struggling with his Year 12. All sorts of bounteous things follow making a decision. If you just drift and really don't make a decision, that's wretched life. So if you make a decision that you can't cope with the pressure of being rushed, a very effective woman who's just a bit younger than me, who had a baby late at 44 because she didn't think she was ever going to get married, and lo and behold, a man became available whose wife had decided she wanted something different. He married her, they had a baby, she's got this beautiful child of 10, and she said to me the other day, I can't bear being rushed at work. I've learned that about myself, and I've just now take on part-time jobs. I don't have the status I used to have, but I can't bear being rushed. Now that was a decision she'd made, and she is not guilty about it. It's taken her years, but I think that is the yield of where we are now. She's raising a very good child, and I think she's in a very different place than she might have thought of 30. Well, maybe she's, you never know. Even without the child, she might be in the same place. I don't mind being rushed. I've learned that I've actually got quite a toleration for pressure. But that's why I'm still doing what I do. If I didn't, I'd be somewhere different. That you're right. That is the achievement.
Thank you, Geraldine. Port Stephens, what are your thoughts on the younger generation's understanding of the history of women's rights and freedoms? Do you think they'll grow up taking their freedom for granted? And this is from a 17-year-old student. And can I say, I'm very pleased to see that there are some school children participating, young people participating in quite a few centres. This is terrific, and welcome all of you.
Indeed, welcome. No, I don't think the younger generation will actually fully grasp the nature of the struggles, because we're not good at history in this country. Do we even grasp, we probably grasp the nature of the diggers' struggles, probably. I'm not even sure that we do that terribly well, by the way. But look at how much emphasis and goes into that story of the diggers of Gallipoli, and finally, look how long it's taken us to actually honour the struggles of the diggers of Kokoda, for goodness sake. I think that that's why I believe in big celebrations like this, 100 years, because I think we've got to grab every opportunity, make every post a winner, to just sort of almost get a chance to go back and look at some of the great characters, how things were when they looked at it. So when they sort of surveyed the landscape, they must have felt absolutely overwhelmed. And yet they named a few goals, and they worked towards them. And so one of the things I'd really love to do in my remaining years of work is to sort of find a way to really make sexy the study of history in this country, to make Australian history in all its various forms live and really to be glittering. And because that's what we share in this new country, very, very ancient country, wonderful ancient country with, ancient peoples. But the newer Australia, we share our great landscape, and I think this summer has been remarkable for that. But we share our characters. That's why when you meet an Australian overseas, have you ever met an Australian overseas? We behave as if we're meeting the best person in the world. We shout, we yell, we carry on, because this is the fabric of us. And, well, look, the wood's on you, 17-year-old students, to be curious and enjoy that history. And then the wood's on us, older people, to tell it in a sparkling fashion.